You looked up, and it was already December. The year you swore would be different is over. The summer you kept waiting for came and went, while you were checking your email. Wasn't it just January? Weren't you just standing here, making the same quiet promise to yourself? Here is the strange part. Time did not actually speed up. The clock on your wall ticks at the exact rate it did when you were 7 years old. A year is still 365 sunrises. No more and no fewer. Nothing about the universe changed. What changed is you. Or more precisely, it is the way your brain records you. Because everyone feels this. Ask anyone past 30 and they will tell you the same thing, almost word for word. Childhood summers lasted forever. A single school year stretched out like a whole continent. And now? Now the years slip past like fields seen from a moving train. Why does that happen? Why does the exact same amount of time feel so wildly different, depending on when in your life you spend it? The first person to take that question seriously was a French philosopher named Paul Janet, back in 1877. And his idea was almost insultingly simple. Every new stretch of time, Janet said, is measured against the whole of the life you have already lived. To a 10-year-old, 1 year is a tenth of everything they have ever known. It is enormous. It is 10% of a life. But to a 50-year-old, that very same year is just 1/50th of their experience, a thin slice of a much thicker book. So the year itself never shrinks, your yardstick grows, and measured against a longer and longer ruler, each new year has to look a little shorter than the one before it. 10 years old feels slow because you are living in slow, fat fractions. 50 feels fast because those fractions have quietly worn thin. It is a beautiful theory, and for a long time, it was the answer. But sit with it for a moment, and you can feel that something is missing. A year is not a bar on a chart. You do not live it as a fraction. You live it hour by hour, morning by morning. So the real question is not about arithmetic. It is about what actually happens inside those hours, and why so many of them simply disappear. For that, we have to talk about memory. In 1890, the psychologist William James wrote a single line that still stops people cold. The same space of time, he said, seems shorter as we grow older. And James did not blame the arithmetic. He blamed sameness. Think about what your earliest years were actually made of. The first day of school, the first time you rode a bike without falling, first heartbreak, first job, the first time you saw the ocean and understood how big the world really was. When you are young, almost everything is a first, and your brain treats a first like an event worth keeping. You remember your first apartment far better than your fifth, your first kiss, and not your 400th ordinary Tuesday. The brain is hungry for the new, and it stamps every fresh experience down in bright, permanent ink. James put it darkly and perfectly. As the years fill up with routine, he said, they grow hollow and collapse. The days blur into one another, and when you look back, there is almost nothing left standing there to hold on to. That is the real engine. Not fractions, memories. The years you can still see clearly are the ones that were full of firsts. The years that feel like they barely happened? They were the ones that looked like all the others. So here is the question that quietly changes everything. What does your brain actually do with a day it has already seen 1,000 times before? The answer is almost nothing at all. And that is the whole secret. Your brain is not a video camera. It does not save every moment at the same quality. It is efficient. Honestly, it is a little lazy, and it refuses to waste energy recording something it can already predict. The drive to work you have made 400 times. The same desk, the same coffee, the same familiar faces. Your brain has seen all of it, filed it away, and quietly stopped paying attention. So it lays down almost no new memory. And that is the trap. When you look back on a week like that, there are no landmarks anywhere in it. Nothing to mark where the time actually went. Your mind judges the length of a stretch of life by how much it can remember from it. And an empty week reads as a short one. You blink, and the whole month is gone. Novelty does the exact opposite. A new place, a new face, a hard new problem drags your brain back to full attention, and it starts recording in high definition again. That is why the science writer Claudia Hammond gave a name to something you have felt 100 times. She called it the holiday paradox. Picture a week somewhere you have never been before. While you are living it, it races past you. Every hour crammed full, gone in a flash. But months later, when you look back on it, that single week feels huge. It feels longer than the 3 ordinary months that came after it. Fast while you live it, long when you remember it. Now, flip it around. A dull week at home feels slow and heavy while you are inside it, watching the clock crawl. But in your memory, it shrinks down to nothing because you kept nothing from it. Have you ever noticed that the emptiest stretches of your life are the ones that vanish the fastest? That is the whole paradox in one sentence. Time is not measured by the clock in the moment. It is measured by the memories in the rearview mirror. And there is one experiment that nails it down completely. A neuroscientist named David Eagleman wanted to know whether time truly slows down in a crisis, the way people always swear it does in a car crash. So he did something a little bit mad. He had volunteers dropped from 150 feet in total freefall into a net far below. On each person's wrist, he strapped a small screen flashing numbers just a hair too fast to read normally. His logic was clean. If genuine terror really did put you into slow motion, then you should be able to read those numbers on the way down. Nobody could. Time did not actually slow down at all. But here's the twist. When he asked them afterward how long their own fall had lasted, they overestimated it by about a third. In their memory, the fall had stretched out. Not because the moment slowed, but because raw fear forced the brain to record everything, densely, frame after frame after frame. And a densely recorded moment always feels long when you look back at it. And there it is, the whole mystery finally solved. Your sense of time is not a river flowing past you at some fixed, honest speed. It is a readout of how much your brain actually bothered to save. Rich, novel, paid attention to time feels long. Empty, automatic, predictable time simply disappears. Which means the speed of your own life is not fixed at all. It is a dial, and you can reach it. Doesn't that quietly change how you want to spend the next 12 months? Think for a second about what that actually means. The reason this year vanished on you is not that you got older. It is that far too much of it looked exactly like everything that came before. Same route, same room, same script. Your brain, just doing its efficient little job, simply did not write most of it down. So do the one single thing it cannot ignore. Give it something new. Take the street you have never once walked down. Learn the thing that scares you a little. Say yes to the trip, to the class, to the stranger's odd invitation. You are not just chasing fun, you are laying down memory. And memory, it turns out, is the raw material that time is made of. And the trick is not to cram your life with noise. It is to actually pay attention, to look at the ordinary as if you had never once seen it before. Because attention is the quiet signal that tells the brain, keep this one. This is why 2 weeks somewhere strange and new can feel forever after like it added a whole month to your life. You did not get more hours than anyone else. You just collected more moments that were worth keeping. And you do not even need a plane ticket for this. A single weekend spent somewhere you have never gone, doing something you have never tried, can come back to you months later feeling like it lasted a full week. It is not about how far you travel. It is about how awake you were while you did it. So look up. It is December again, and another year is nearly gone. But the next one does not have to slip away while you sit there checking your email. Fill it with firsts, and it will stretch itself back out, the way your summers once did, when you were young, and everything was new, and time was something you had far, far too much of to ever bother counting.